We were kicked off the island, we were evicted off this island, and at that time of our eviction, I was so determined not to leave. I wanted to stay here in Hawaii. I fought with my mom at that time. She was like, well, we have no choice, you have to leave. And I said, no, I'll stay with my uncles, I'll stay with my aunties, I'll stay anywhere I can, I'll stay with my grandmother, because I felt at that time when I was 14 years old, getting ready to turn 15, that I had all the answers, that I knew what was best in my life. Ultimately, of course, I got my ass on a plane and I did what my mom told me to do. But when I think about being here at McKinley High School and I think about these students who are here now, when I think about myself at that time, I think, well, what would I tell myself today? What would I tell that 14-year-old kid today who thinks he has all the answers? I would say this. I would say, regardless of the hard times that are going to come your way, and there's going to be plenty, hold on to faith. That fundamental core value of faith that things are going to get better through the sludge, and we all go through the sludge. And also, whatever happens and whatever you do, do not stop working your ass off, and how important that is. You know, really, when I think back at that time, my dream was to, number one, not leave here, not leave Hawaii. I didn't want to be broke, that's for sure. But I also had a dream of, at that time, this idea that I could be a professional football player and my dreams could come true. I could buy my parents a house, we'll never be evicted again. I could buy my first house, buy my first car, etc., etc. But life is so wildly unpredictable, and when you look back, sometimes the dreams that we have, the things that we want most to happen in life, sometimes they're the best things that never happen. Because truth is, had I not been evicted and had we not been kicked off the island, that would not have set me on a path of being motivated and driven to work hard, work my ass off, do everything I could possibly do, latch on to a passion and an intention, which was the game of football that I loved so much. And I felt like that was my path out. And of course, that dream didn't come true either. So I look back with gratitude. I look back with, thankfully now, a little bit of grace in knowing that all things worked out the way they should. Hi.
Hi.
It wasn't that bad. I wasn't pumped. Remember, the cops came to arrest me out of class here. She'll tell you about it. Coming back to this field is just so incredibly surreal. It feels like serendipity 1,000 times over because, well, first of all, I should say this field wasn't even here when I was here, since I was here back in the Stone Age about 180 years ago. But this field wasn't here. This field was made up of grass and dirt. And this is where we practice. We practice every day in this hot-ass sun, but it's what we did to get better. It's what we did to be the hardest workers in the room at that time. I was 14 years old. But what's interesting about that time for me is that I was, in many ways, a walking contradiction. And this is a walking contradiction that we do explore in Young Rock. And what I mean by a walking contradiction, I mean, at that time, I was still struggling to stay on the right path at 14 years old. Yes, I was out here. I was busting my ass. I was working as hard as I possibly could in the weight room, which is still right over there. But at the same time, I struggled to stay on the right path. I was getting arrested. I was doing a lot of things. As I always like to say, I was doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing at that time. So there was this contradictory life that I was living at that time. My teachers were always so perplexed here at McKinley High School because they were like, you're a good boy, but yet you keep getting arrested and getting in trouble. And so coming back here to this field right now there's that term, my cup runneth over. My gratitude cup runneth over now because this, not only this field, but then not only this high school, but this entire area, this is where I grew up. This is where so many of my life's moments, my defining life moments took place, and many of which were struggles in the past. So to be able to come back here, this version of not only this field, but this version of who I am today on the eve of launching a television show based on my life, much of which took place here in Hawaii, it's mind-boggling to me. It's incredible. and my gratitude cup runneth over right now.